This is the new Sony 300mm f2.8 lens, and it is incredibly light.
This is just in time for the Olympics because that's who's going to use this. This is Olympic sports photography. It is fantastic for big field sports, things like soccer or American football, or things like auto racing even. Anytime you need that telephoto and you really want to blur the background, separate subjects, this is absolutely the lens to have.
We're going to take some moving photos with it. We're going to see how fast it is, what the image quality is, and we're going to compare it to a 70-200 with teleconverters to see how much better the results can be with this. So let's get started.
You can help support Unbiased Reviews by supporting our sponsor, Adorama. Anytime you buy camera gear, lighting, lenses, tripods, head to this link at Adorama. You'll get the fastest shipping, the best support, and VIP points that you can spend on future purchases. Thanks for sponsoring us, Adorama. Usually on the sidelines of those big events, the photographers have big lenses like this on a monopod because it would wear them out, but this is so light. In fact, you can take off this tripod collar if you don't need it to make it even just a little bit lighter. I'm gonna have you, Chelsea, go out a little bit and run so that we can check the performance with our Sony Alpha 1 here. 50 megapixels, 30 frames per second. Let's see how it does.
I have my running boots on.
You're really running them boots. Oh, that bokeh looks so good. Okay, go ahead. Combined with the Sony A1, it got basically 100% of shots in focus, even on Chelsea moving extremely fast. It only started to miss focus when she got exceptionally close, and in which case we could see it slipped off the eyes and back towards the ears a little bit for a few shots. That looked perfect, and that bokeh was gorgeous, but let's try it with a 2x teleconverter. How are those running boots working out for you?
This was a bad choice.
This is going to turn it into a 600mm f5.6 lens. Still pretty fast and even usable for wildlife, I think. Okay. I'm going to need you to go far. It's 600. Go, keep going. Go into the next town. Okay, go. Putting on the teleconverter to go to 600mm didn't hurt the performance much, but if we zoom in, we can see every now and then it pulses out of focus. This shot's in focus, and then the next shot is very slightly out of focus, and then it snaps back in focus. So even when you get extremely close, it's still getting 28, 29 shots in focus out of 30 in every second. Every sports photographer already has a 70-200 f2.8, and you can put a 1.4x teleconverter on that, and it makes it like a 100-300 f4. So I want to see just what you get by upgrading to a dedicated prime that doesn't have the versatility of the zoom, but gives you more background blur. You want to model for me again? Okay. Before I even zoom in, I can see a huge difference. The 300 f2.8 completely blows out the background. It just looks gorgeous. It's also a little bit tighter than the 70-200 with the 1.4 teleconverter. Because some of y'all are watching on your phones, I really got to zoom in tight. At this level, it's clear how much sharper the 300 f2.8 is than the 70-200 with a teleconverter. Would this be a problem for sports photographers or even portrait photographers? No. But the 300 f2.8 is definitely better. Also, because it's f2.8 instead of f4 with the teleconverter here, it's shooting at ISO 320 instead of ISO 500. And we can see the image is quite a bit clearer, like there's less noise, which means skin tones are going to look better, cleaner, more natural.
We're going to go inside, take more photos in our testy. Okay. We're going to go inside and take more photos of lights to check the bokeh and also the stabilization. Let's go. Testy.
Bokeh is the quality of unfocused light. And when you have points of light in the background, they'll turn into balls or sort of obloid looking things. This is important to sports photographers because a lot of stadiums have lights and you're going to see those in the background and they can either be beautiful or ugly. So we have these lights behind Chelsea here, and I want to see how both lenses cast them out of focus. This is a good simulation of what sports photographers would see shooting in stadiums at night with bright lights. You can see the 70-200 with the teleconverter on introduces significant blooming around the backlighting. The 300 f2.8 has much better contrast. Of course, the 300 f2.8 also shows more bokeh, bigger bokeh balls, and because it's a full stop faster, it's shooting at ISO 12,800 instead of ISO 20,000. And if we zoom in, we see the extra stop of speed produces significantly sharper images. Like you can see the eyelashes here very clearly, whereas they are completely lost on the 70-200 with the teleconverter. That means your low light sports photos are going to look much better with this prime. Here in my very dark basement, I'm going to test two things. The first is going to be the minimum focusing distance. So I'm going to see just how close I can get to that map in the background. This is helpful when an athlete is running directly towards you. The closer your focusing distance is, the more good shots you'll get. So I'm going to put this into manual focus and then focus all the way in manually, and then I'll walk towards the subject. You can see the focusing is totally internal. Everything is incredibly weather sealed. Oh my God, I'm still getting closer and closer. Oh man, so close. Okay, well, the 70-200 is definitely better at minimum focusing distance, but part of that is that the teleconverter is adding extra crop to it. You could always add an extension tube to the 300 prime if you did need to get closer, but honestly, it's more for faraway subjects. Stabilization is really important with lenses like these too, because a lot of photographers are using these to take panning shots, long exposures of moving athletes or cars, and you want to see those wheels spinning. So I don't have time to do a full photo shoot, but I can do a stabilization test to see just how long I can hand hold it. In the stabilization test, the 300 f2.8 prime got about 100% sharp up until the point when we got to 3 stops below, about 1/80th of a second. At 1/40th of a second, about half the shots were sharp and about half had some amount of movement in them. At 1/20th of a second, it fell down to about a quarter of the shots being sharp, and by the time we got to 1/10th of a second, about 1 out of 10 shots were sharp. That's not great. 1/10th of a second is only 5 stops below the reciprocal rule, but still, this is a sports lens, so it'll probably be shot at 1/2000th of a second most of the time. This is a lens special made for the Olympics, but it's great for any sports photographer who happens to have the budget, or maybe it's something that you rent for an important shoot that you have coming up. The fact is, every lineup should have a 300mm f2.8 prime. I don't think Nikon has one right now, or you'd have to adapt a DSLR lens. Canon, though, they have a 100-300 f2.8, and that extra versatility is appreciated, but it's much more expensive and also a lot heavier, and that means that now you're probably using a monopod on it. So in a way, having it lighter adds some versatility.
If you're looking for great gear like this, you should head over to Adorama. They sponsored this video, but they also make buying amazing gear easy and fun. If you're taking pictures or video, they have everything you could hope for, from cameras, lenses, lighting, backpacks, tripods, everything. And if you use our links, it lets them know we're doing a good job, and they keep sponsoring videos like this. So thanks so much for watching, and let us know in the comments down below if you have any more tests you'd like us to do in this lens.